Hi there, Mike Schopp, Adam Krautwurst, getting ready for week 3 in the NFL 2022. Maybe you, like I have mistakenly turned on one of your favorite fantasy football podcasts and maybe lasted 10 minutes before realizing that you were listening to one from a previous season. Doesn't look good on you. It's happened to me, but throw the year in there just to make sure everybody's on the same page here. Talk about what's ahead this week. There's injuries, maybe not as many as we're used to. We'll go through certain storylines so far, including one position that's gotten roughed up a little bit already in a key way. Mike and Adam here. Thanks for watching on YouTube or listening, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Thanks to Draft Sharks for powering us up. Let's have some fun. This is The Deep End. Will we need to change that graphic because of my new glasses?
I don't think so. Why would we? No, that
different
graphic
shape. We did that podathon, and Todd was on. He's like, the glasses really are a thing for you. I'm like, okay. I mean, thank you.
That's right. I thought you meant the shark. No, our pictures. Maybe. Listen, we could do a new headshot every year if you want to do that. Come on, let's do it.
Is that what we should do? I don't know, but these are different. They're fun. They're blue.
Yes.
All right, let's go. How's your season going?
Season is going okay. It's week 1 was really good. Not as good as your week 2, but week 1 was really good. Week 2 was not good. It's people always talk about people who do high stakes or high volume, or a lot in the DFS community. They talk about like the roller coaster ride and how it's tough to like deal with the emotions of having a week where you lose a ton of money. Now you don't have that generally in season long because you wait till the end of the year to lose a ton of money. But it still can be a rough ride when when you get injuries and you lose a bunch of games and you're like, man, is my whole season shot? Did I miss on these guys? All that type of stuff. So I'm having a little bit of that this week, but all in all, I was about 500 this week. I think it was one game below 500. So if that's going to be a bad week for me, I'll take it. But it just didn't feel right. A lot of Trey Lance, not a lot, but some Trey Lance, a lot of Jerry Jeudy. Juju stunk, Pitt stunk. So I have a lot of those guys. So it was just a kind of an unlucky bad week for the most part. But hey, this part's part of the. If it was week 7, I wouldn't care as much, because I'd be more like set on my okay, here's what I'm right and wrong about. But right now, I feel like I don't know yet. And it could go either way right now.
I look at it as I've already lost all the money.
Yeah, there you go.
The money isn't lost week to week. It's lost in front, and then hopefully you win at the end. But we don't know.
That's true.
I had a week that I've never had before. I've only been playing high stakes. Really, this is year 3, really year 2 for the main event.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff. And almost everything felt right. So I'm going to show you, there it is. I'm not the type to brag. I would never have done this on my own, but
yes,
we're a brand. You're trying to get people to come over, subscribe to Draft Sharks, become an insider, watch The Deep End. So maybe this looks like I know something. I also thought about how, if you're somebody who plays in many more leagues than this, anybody could set them up to look, all their wins.
Here's all my wins.
So I have the main events on the top, a couple of other kinds, the RotoViz and the Victory Point League, and then the football guys. And if you scroll down, you can see this. There is one. There is one.
So green.
There is one.
Of course.
And so that's against our friend Nick.
Of course it is.
And had I gotten the Jefferson catch, I needed to beat Nick. I would have lost my main to Scott Connor with Louis. So it was still better to lose just the one.
Right.
So yeah,
at one point
things went well. Stephon Diggs in the top main. I was down 21.5 with Diggs against Henry, and won by 15
handily. Right.
Handily.
Yeah. No. Listen. For people who haven't been watching this show that long. Mike wasn't. I forced him. I forced his hand to do this. You got to. This is the deep end. We're doing high stakes. Let's show when we go. Plus, it's like, man, it just feels so good. You probably haven't slept in 2 days. You're just riding the high, and good for you. And they're high scores too. It's not like it's 108 to 99. You got some 180s in there. You got a bunch of 170s. Where do you think? Like when I'm looking at my score, I feel like if I score over 150, I feel like I should get a win. What about you?
I asked you that. I remember asking you that last year or the year before. Like, what's a good score? And that's what you said, 150.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how I look at it. And there were a couple lucky ones there, but overall good. I mean, those are pretty solid builds. You're just trying to dodge bullets with injuries. And on some of those teams that are wide receiver heavy, you need an injury or could really use one, from certain guys. Has it not been light so far this year? I mean, sure, there are injuries all over the league, and there always are. But apart from quarterback, it hasn't been too rough in terms of fantasy, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually currently texting with Andrew Schellenberg, Clutch Like Shelly. We have a main event team together, and he's like, man, waivers are gross this week. It's because there's no like injuries. Like there's no big, there's no big injuries to really push guys up and down the board. To really force your hand on some stuff. And it's hard. Like the first thing I do when I go to do waivers is before I do anything, I look at the actual roster. I want to get a feel for the roster. Let's look at it. And a lot of teams, it's like, there's nobody that I'm going to really drop, at this point. There might be a couple, like obviously Trey Lance, he's going bye-bye, but like, it's hard to like drop people at this point. Especially if you've got like a bunch of handcuff running backs, you're not really going to drop them. And so you're looking for a guy that you just have lost all faith in, and there's got to be someone worth picking up. So, especially in these high stakes leagues, like it's been very slim pickings. I have seen a few Elijah Mitchells out there. He's owned in 95% of leagues. So that's interesting. Maybe we can talk about him during our free agency time, but he's a guy that I've been putting some bids in on. But other than that, it's just slim pickings this week.
You do see teams that make that aggressive play in waivers right away. So there's some separation in terms of dollars remaining in these leagues. And then maybe not 0-2, but 0-3, it's a different metric when you have a record like that versus 3-0.
Yeah.
You can play it much more conservatively if you're winning, or even you're making moves for different players. You're making moves for guys who might not play for another month or more, like that. Somebody else in a losing record situation can't afford to do that. So the strategy will vary. Week one strategy is pretty much all the same apart from your roster construction. You're all going for, and it's funny how many of those guys there are, like 1-2 weeks into the season, there are names that, like Sterling Shepard was somebody that, I don't know, we never talked about, never heard about, really forgot about maybe as a community. And like, okay, he's ready to play, fine. And then the Giants show up, and Tony's not on the field. Galladay's not doing anything. And you get a 65-yard touchdown pass to Shepard the first week. Should have had another one last week. Like, okay, Wandale gets hurt. So maybe that's something. And that's a guy that's been in the league for years. Curtis Samuel is a plus version of that, I think. It's funny, with all the coverage and commentary and everything, there are still guys that we generally, almost all of us, forget about.
Yeah, I mean, and people are always saying like, oh, you should have taken this guy with your last pick and your last pick. Like, I only have one last pick in every draft. I can't take every single guy in the last round. So, everyone had their maybe 3 to 4 go-to players, and then and we'll probably talk about one of your guys was one of these San Francisco running backs. You were always you were at the end of the preseason kind of pushing for. We'll probably talk about him in the free agency period. But
I'm ready to get paid off on Jordan Mason. Like, with the injury to Mitchell and then Davis Price, like maybe actually, why is he on the team? I mean, you kept an undrafted running back on the team where you have all these other ones, and he's active, but you're not using him. Like, well, what's the point of that? So hopefully it's not a bad sign.
I don't think it's a bad sign. I mean, what's the point of, to me, if this is the thought process, what's the point of that? It's, well, we don't need to risk another injury. Like, let's just let him sit over here. If there's an injury, we'll put him in. Like, why run him out there when we don't need 3 guys running during a game? So
right, but usually teams will have, I don't know always, but they'll have another position group they want to be a little deeper at than running back.
Yeah.
But
the Niners lose a starting running back 3 or 4 times a year. So I think they're just kind of used to it. I was going to ask, and this is if anyone is watching who has any take on this at all or whatever, watches it later, is there I was going to ask Jay Moyer, maybe some film guys, is there certain running schemes that are more likely to get running backs injured? Because I feel like it's the same, it's the Ravens, it's the Niners, it's like the same teams that just roll through, 5-6 running backs a year. It feels like, and then you get other teams that never lose running backs. It's I feel like it's kind of weird.
This is not a good answer, but the two teams you mentioned are teams that really are about running the ball.
Sure, that's true.
So maybe there's a volume point there. Yeah. I don't think so. Baltimore right now cannot get 2 yards per rush. Like it's just
their
terrible.
running backs are horrific.
I know, but it's not supposed to matter.
Yeah, well,
open a hole and throw Kenyon Drake in there, and he can't get more than a yard. I mean, how with Lamar Jackson in the mix too, fakes and read options and things. It's been bad. Yeah. Maybe they get Dobbins back this week, practicing in full. It's been a little bit mysterious.
I know, so weird.
He is not going to be available. You talk about San Francisco, Trey Lance. I mean, that's the biggest injury so far. All those summer drafts. Of course, one part of the strategy is quarterback. You have the top guys. Let me say 6. I feel like I would say, maybe many would say, there was a line after 6. Yep. Murray or Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Jackson, Murray, and Hurts. And so, sliding scale, that group of 6 is overall doing great. I mean, you're happy. It was a expensive price for Allen, and then on down, you're happy, especially Hurts right now. Like you're loving it. Yeah. After that, though, Adam, I mean, Lance has wrecked. So has Prescott. Brady, nothing. Russell Wilson, who knows? Right. On down to Fields. I mean, Fields is still alive, but nothing. Ugh. They're not throwing the ball at all. Even like Burrow's okay. This was a fine strategy to play quarterback in this range. I mean, you're trying to stack and do different things. It made a lot of sense to do this. And those were guys who all had a pretty high ceiling, but this quarterback range has taken a beating.
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely has. And that was one of the things where, like, if you were playing in these tournaments and you were playing, we talked about it all summer. If you're playing in these tournaments, you want to take one of these top 6 guys, maybe not the first one, probably not the first one, but you want to get one of these top 6 guys because you want the ones who can smash down the 3-week stretch. And you also, but it's even going even further. It's the regular season now. They're separating themselves from the rest of the pack. You get these guys like Joe Burrow. It's all these quarterbacks that can't move, right? When they have a bad game, they can't save it with their legs. Look at Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray didn't play well on Sunday, but you know what? He could stand back there for 24 seconds and then run it in for a touchdown because he's Kyler Murray. He's a magician like that. That's why you're drafting guys like that, so you get these Kirk Cousins, these Joe Burrows, Stafford. Russell Wilson can't move like he used to. You get guys like that where, man, if they're having a bad day and they can't make up for it with their legs. So their floor is so low, but, and then like you said, the injuries that we've had so far. So I think the strategy of taking one of those top 6 QBs has really elevated teams, I think, this year. The big week from Lamar Jackson. Now you had the big week from Tua, but honestly, how many people even started Tua for that game? So he was probably better in best ball, but yeah, it's interesting. I feel super comfy when I look at my rosters and I've got one quarterback and it's Lamar Jackson, or one quarterback and it's Kyler Murray. I feel great. And when I look at my matchup, I'm like, man, I'm probably going to beat this other guy's quarterback by 15 points. So, yeah, no, it feels good.
In best ball, you can, of course, have Lance and Tua, Carson Wentz, Goff. I mean, those guys are upright. No, you're not starting them in one quarterback leagues. You are now if you had Lance or Prescott. So, I mean, in most redraft leagues, you might not even have a backup quarterback. And now you're out there. I mean, yes, with Tua and Wentz and Goff, but it's just like sort of the tight end conversation. You have to pick the right one because your odds are not great down there. I mean, if you think Marcus Mariota can put up 20 points a week, or Wentz or somebody, fine, you might be right. But you want to stream there. I've got a couple teams like that where we're picking between Mariota, Wentz, Goff, Daniel Jones, and these guys. and you just have Matt Ryan, right? You just have to cross your fingers
Yeah.
in a given week to be right. And that is what tight end is all about when you don't draft the elite. It's the same thing.
Yes.
You can draft Kelsey and Andrews, plug and play. It's a pricey pick, but you do that. You don't worry about it. If you get past like 10, then every week is like this. I hope this is the Fryermuth week. I hope this is the Hayden Hurst week.
Right.
And you just it's tough to win in the long run that way.
Yes.
In best ball, we all have at least 2 on those best ball teams, if not 3.
Yeah.
And hopefully you got lucky there. By the way, on best ball, do you check Underdog, all these best ball mania and whatever? Are you checking the standings? How often?
So my rule of thumb, generally how I am, is I'm in so many lineup setting leagues, I don't even have time to think about the best ball ones. I kind of just leave it be. And I'll go at the end of towards the end of the year and just kind of open it up like it's a a Christmas present. Like, hey, let's see if I have any teams that are in the mix for a bunch of money. But I found myself like, this is the deep end. We're just going to get vulnerable. When I have a bad week, when I have a bad week in high stakes, I'm like, let me just take a sneak peek at some of these best ball teams. Maybe I'm going to find some joy in something over here. And I did have one FFPC best ball team that scored over 200 and is in first place by a mile after 2 weeks. So that was nice to see. But in rule of thumb, me generally, I'm not checking my best ball teams until the end of the year, maybe 5-6 weeks left.
Every day.
Every day. Now, speaking of checking the standings, are you checking the standings? I do look at are you looking at like main event overall standings? Because I have 3, as bad of a week that I had, I have 3 teams in the top 250 or 240 in the main event. So I'm like, okay, well, I got a couple teams that are doing really, really well. How much do you care right now about the?
I would love to care about that, but I'm not going to put the screen back up. I didn't really have anybody that exciting in terms of the overall rankings. In best ball, we do. In fact, Louis G. I have a partner, Adam Kelly, in the Superflex best ball. We're in 6th. Wow. And I looked at it like, wow, 6th. That's the highest I've ever seen myself in anything. Louis in 5th.
Just rubbing it in your face. I love it.
Yeah, but like Underdog, I've checked. Oh yeah, the first week I forgot about it, and then I got the adrenaline at the end of Sunday night or Monday night. Like, oh yeah, let me see how. And Underdog is amazing. Like they show you your winnings.
Yes,
up to
winnings
up to the second. It's so great.
That's crazy.
So I have like a tote board going in my mind, or sort of a,
Yep.
I'm just checking. It pretty much is kind of every day. It's habitual.
I love it.
Okay, so week 3 fab, 10 o'clock. Hey, buddy. 10 o'clock deadline at FFPC and other sites, or 11. First guy, we've talked about how it's relatively slim. First guy for you that you're either, really pounding, going after tonight, or you're just sort of curious because you think maybe other people will be.
Yeah, I got through the first couple leagues. I generally start Tuesday morning, just kind of going through, and it's just like every league. It was I was looking at the same kind of garbage and I'm like, do I want to drop this handcuff or that handcuff? And you've got the the backups in Tennessee, and you've got the backups in for the Cardinals. One guy that kind of did jump out to me that I saw twice was Elijah Mitchell. And we talked a little bit about him earlier. He's a guy that kind of that'll make me spend a little bit of fab. The way I look at it is, for a guy like him, I would chase him a little bit because he's going to be back eventually. They're talking 8 weeks. Let's say 10 weeks. At this point, if you're going to bid on him, you don't care if it's 8, 9, 10. Let's get him back fully healthy. If all he's dealing with is, what's there now, I think he's a guy that during playoff time, we got Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback now. We don't have to worry about Trey Lance's running. I think Garoppolo is a big, not a big, but a big floor boost to all of the weapons there. So I think, he's not going to be running, and he'll be handing the ball off. And if Mitchell gets that job back, if they really like him that much and he gets the job back, he could be very important come playoff time. So he's a guy that if he's on my waivers, I am looking hard to see what my team looks like. Can I afford to put a decent bid in on him? So that's a guy that I would certainly be looking at. And then also in the same vein, Jordan Mason, for whatever, if he's available. He's not available in any of the FFPC leagues I'm in. He's available I think I saw him in an FFWC and stuff like that. So Jordan Mason's another guy. Anytime you get a running back that's an injury away, especially in a run-heavy offense, he's certainly a guy we're worth adding.
Right now, he so far is somebody that I picked, like in the Podathon. I picked him in the last round of that thing, and people are like, "Ooh, who's that?" Like they take an interest, or the bare knuckle, or whatever. And then, like so far, it's only sort of like street cred, but it's no points at all. You know who's interesting like that is Pacheco.
Yeah,
because Pacheco went to the mid rounds or higher, and like I don't know. Are you ever going to start Pacheco like without an injury, or is what will have to happen there? That's what a lot of those running backs we're talking about are. They need an injury, and that's why you want them, because those injuries happen. But teams are spreading out carries more. They're more conscious of injuries than ever. This has been gradual, and so the odds come down. And then on the other side of that is the upside. If you're talking about 3 or even 4 running backs in a committee, the upside is limited because, like, take Antonio Gibson. If Antonio Gibson or Robinson may move in anyway when he's healthy, but Gibson goes down, McKissick is probably still third downs. Like the upside isn't really that great either.
Right.
So I wonder if next year wide receivers in terms of like the first round or the first 2 rounds this year are the story versus running backs. But I think there's like a sort of a hidden development here where you might end up wanting to pick a running back earlier than before because of this committee part that mitigates injuries. It might anyway, and we could end up in a different place. But let's not rush to next year.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, the committee thing is a good point, but even I think it just depends on the team. Like Jeff Wilson got 18 carries, and TDP, who's now hurt, high ankle sprain, 16 carries. Like I just feel like teams like that, man, you just want a roster. That was the Jordan Mason thing, right? He's RB4. But here we are, week 2, going into week 3, and he's right there. You know, it's like I never drop running backs from teams like this. I'm always adding running backs, especially from teams like this. Like you said, you brought up the Ravens are a good one. Them. So it's just Seattle's another team that they're always going to try to run the ball. But it's. And it can be a little scary looking at the roster because, if you have a hero RB or a 0 RB team and you're 2 weeks in, like, man, like you're starting to get nervous. Like, man, my depth is not good. Like once bye weeks hit, if there's not injuries to the starting running backs that I've rostered the backups, what am I going to do? So it can get a little nerve wracking, but hey, the top team in the FFPC right now in the main event is a 0 RB build. I think even in the best ball tournament might be a 0 RB build too. So, you just kind of got to live on the edge there, but
also you got to care about a team's record. Take the Tennessee Titans at this point, 0-2 with Derrick Henry. Like the contract matters. He's got a high profile, status with the fan base and the team or the organization. But you can get into a season here and you're kind of out of it. If they switch quarterbacks, what will all that mean? A running back season can really get lost. Yes. Could happen with Najee Harris. Could happen with Derrick Henry. It's not happening with Joe Mixon, even though they've lost 2 games. Mixon he's playing more of the full role. And that's another team where you wanted maybe to have one of the other 2 potential handcuffs, Pirine or Chris Evans, but tough to know which one. And because of Mixon's usage so far, that's a team where if I need to find a cut or I really want to, those guys have often been, or a few times anyway, been where I settled.
Yeah.
So
another group of guys that we're looking at this week is maybe the Cardinals running backs. So you got Connor who's hurt. The problem with, again, the reason why I wasn't really drafting a lot of these guys is I don't think, if Connor doesn't play this week, I don't think Darrell Williams or Eno Benjamin is getting, 70% of the touches. I think they'll split it, based on down in distance, based on how the game's going. So, if you have Connor and you don't have a ton of running backs behind him, you're certainly going to want to put bids in on these guys, see if you can grab them and maybe start them if you have to. But I certainly would not feel comfortable like I would if I lost, if I had Jaylen Warren and the starter there went down, I would feel much better because of the scheme that the Steelers run, where they're just going to give it to the back, the next man up, so to speak. So yeah, I think the Cardinals running backs are worth a bid. Darrell Williams, Eno Benjamin. I would probably bid more on Jordan Mason than I would on them because, again, I think it's next man up. And even last week, the Niners had 2 running backs go over 15 carries. So Mason might get 15 carries this week for all we know. So, and then another running back I was looking at was Raheem Mostert, not available in most high stakes leagues, but it's amazing how the difference a week makes. Everyone was kind of victory lapping Chase Edmonds as a 0 RB, kind of, perfect pick for 0 RB. And then the very next week, it's like, oh, never mind. Mostert might be the starting running back there now. So that's an interesting situation to kind of keep an eye on.
Right. In terms of the high stakes, you won't see Mostert too many places or even Mitchell, but in a lot of leagues you will, in a lot of less high stakes, you will see Mostert. And that's a little bit tricky. He's healthy at this point. He's had a tough time with that, but they did show some faith in him in week 2 and, probably game plan specific. Really, most of us did not see that coming. Another guy like that, you won't almost definitely find him on waivers and FFPC tonight, but Adam, Garrett Wilson went from forgotten to outstanding. I mean, in week 2, he was great.
I know.
What do you want to do there? Like if you had the choice, tone it down a little bit from the FFPC stuff. Garrett Wilson is out there in home leagues. He would be probably a lot. You want to go hard there?
Yes. I'm to the point now, and Theo Greminger, the OG on Twitter, he's a big rookie wide receiver guy. He just takes them no matter what, right? Because it's just like he did a good study on last year and the year before on what rookie receivers end up doing. They're better than we think they are. And I know we're in a dynasty league with him where all he took was rookie receivers this year. And he built that way. So yeah, he's a guy that I just want to believe in as far, because old, me, maybe even as far back as, or as close as last year would have been like, yeah, I'll look to add him, but like, am I really going to start him? It was a rookie at a terrible team. Don't think it matters anymore. I mean, look at Elijah Moore last year on the same team. Elijah Moore was great, and he was really, really good down the stretch. This guy went to Ohio State. They're all good that come out of Ohio State. He was a top 10, top 12 pick.
10.
You get a guy like Flacco in there who knows where to go with the football. He get through for over 300 yards or whatever. It's like, Zach Wilson's the only thing that makes me nervous. Like when Wilson comes back, is he gonna make it worse? But I think he's a really, really good pickup for sure. My only thing is, are you going to start him? And I think you can. I think you should start him right away. Don't wait anymore. You're going to miss out. I did that with Elijah Moore last year. I had him in a couple leagues, and I was like, let me wait for an injury to somebody on my actual starting on my fantasy roster, because I can't possibly start him over DeAndre Hopkins or somebody, Brandon Cooks. But it's like, yes, you can, and do it now before you lose all those good wide receiver 1 weeks.
Please understand, I'm not making a direct comparison here, but that's what Odell Beckham was like as a rookie.
Yes.
Where he was injured. Wilson wasn't injured, or maybe he was a little bit. You had to wait on Beckham, and he was kind of forgotten about. You get him like, wow, could this be for real? Then you had the one-handed catch against Dallas, and there was no turning back. He didn't have a good quarterback either. A little bit of, just want to slip that in. A little bit of name dropping. You and I play in a dynasty league with Mike Leone here in Western New York, and he did that in our startup last year for Empire Niagara. Just chase and rookie receivers, especially if you start 3. Yeah, RotoViz leagues where you start like you just NFFC, just such a good argument. And on WGR, where I work every afternoon hosting sports talk, Schauf and the Bulldog, we talked to Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus today, and I brought up sort of the value of the great wide receiver. You have the Diggs show on Monday night, Tyreek Hill for Miami. If you had a team, how would you build it? Would you pay wide receivers? And we went on for a while about that. He's like, made many good points. And then he threw in one thing to remember too, with as many colleges that are playing a pass first, 3 wide receiver spread offense, these kinds of things. You just have more players. You have more wide receivers who are coming into the NFL or eligible for the NFL, and sort of the strength in numbers there. We have a year this year already where it looks great. Can't wait for Jamison Williams to get out there and take his turn. But even Dotson, like everybody else, is looking good. Burks, I think, will get there.
Yeah, and Burks looked good. I was at the game Monday night. Burks looked good. He's so big. I mean, you don't even realize how big he is until he's like people said, hey, he's AJ Brown. I'm telling you, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. His team stinks, and they don't throw the ball. But Burks is fine. Burks is going to be good. Yeah, and it's like starting these rookie receivers. You don't want to wait too long because they're going to go off. Odell Beckham's a great point from a couple of years ago. Yeah, get these guys in starting lines. But I think as far as NFL teams are concerned, I think it depends on what team you are, right? Like if you are, and I'm only using this as an example because it's kind of the hot topic of the week, but if you're Miami and you have Tua, like, yeah, Waddle and Hill, sure, absolutely. But then you've got surround him with talent at receiver. But then you got like the Bills, like they lose Gabe Day. All right, here's Jake Kumro. Here's Jamison Crowder. Here's the backup fullback. Here's the backup tight end. Like it doesn't matter. So I think if you have an elite quarterback, I don't think it's necessary to have all those weapons. But if you've got someone like Jameis Winston, yeah, give him Olave, give him Michael Thomas, give him a couple other pieces there. I wish I had like a decent tight end there other than Taysom Hill. But yeah, like I think it depends on what your rosters look like. And hey, it was always for years like go get a franchise quarterback. Well, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, some teams just, you know what, we're gonna get everything else. And then we're just gonna hopefully later trade for him. Or we're going to try to find him later or whatever. So I think it can work either way.
I'm bidding on Juwan Johnson in places tonight.
There you go.
He's got the metrics. He's their tight end. I've dumped Troutman. Taysom Hill is barely on the field. I still like him too. I want him on my good teams.
I know.
Because there's the quarterback possibility, rushes, red zone. I mean, I feel like you can do worse. So many tight ends have that zero floor, where you just, even Albert O. This week.
What's that all about?
He's on the field, Russell Wilson, everything, but just zero. So, I mean, I like having Taysom Hill on those rosters. Who knows if you'll ever want to start him, but you could. One more receiver to talk about before we move on. Cole Beasley in Tampa. What do you think here? Does that stick? Does he? I mean, I think there's a pretty good chance he plays this week for Tampa against Green Bay. Assuming he's passed his physical and he's in good enough shape to do that. No Evans, no Godwin, probably, maybe no Julio Jones. I mean, they're going to need guys. And
it's crazy.
Bulldog today on WGR said, I asked him this question, like, you think Beasley sticks there? Because he was on the Bills, of course. And he's like, he is just Tom Brady's type.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He's going to run 5 yards, turn around, and the ball's going to be there. And Tampa needs that.
Tampa needs that, yeah, and they have to. I don't think he's anything this week, only because for the type of receiver he is, and the reason why Tom loves these types of receivers, they run a lot of option routes, right? Like, hey, you're read the defense, I'm going to read the defense, and you're going to make one cut, and I'm going to put it there. Beasley's that type of guy, but Tom Brady has Wednesdays off. Right? Like how much rapport? I mean, how much are they going to be able to work together in the next 3 days before they have to play on Sunday and really build that chemistry? So this week, I mean, if you're starting Cole Beasley, you're in huge trouble anyways. But as far as free agent pickups, I think he's worth a pickup. I think Brady wanted him, was recruiting him a little slightly before. And I think, I think he's a guy that could certainly stick. And I think, when they get all the receivers back, I think he finds a spot. Maybe they move Godwin outside. He's worth picking up. He's worth kicking the tires on. Wait a week, and then maybe you slide him into your lineup when Mike Evans is back. But I think he can still play a little bit. I mean, he's older. He's like 33, but he had a broken leg all last year. But even then, he was still, he was successful. He could, there's a spot for him on your roster.
I think so too. And no, I don't want to start him in any of this stuff this week, but I would expect him to be active, and you can see, and really, like, we've been through this with Scott Miller and Perryman.
Yeah.
And that crowd. So
yeah, but none of those guys, like Miller, even though he's like the same build, or like the little white slot guy, he's a speedster. He's not really a slot guy. So
I just mean there's nothing really reliable there.
Right.
Who even
right.
knows what Gage, like last week could have been a game where Gage opened up, no Evans eventually with the ejection, and Godwin didn't really happen. It was okay, but a loss if you started him. I did in a few places. I started him over CeeDee Lamb last week.
I have a league where I benched CeeDee Lamb. It wasn't for Russell Gage, but it was it was but it was one of these, zero RB builds where I have 6 good receivers. So I could certainly see that. But now, hey, listen, if they're gonna be slinging the ball around like that, and now you got Schultz that's hurt, I mean, you might get 15 targets a game.
Yeah, Rush came through there. Was it 7 for 75
Yes.
for Lamb?
Yep.
But you take that,
Fine. Yeah.
Expectations after week 1. By the way, Dynasty had a couple good conversations about this today. Who would you rather have, CeeDee Lamb or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I mean, I'm just gonna say it. I'm on Ross St. Brown.
Agreed.
It's just it makes me want to vomit to say that, but it's true. It's true. I mean, they just he's perfect for what they want to do over there.
8 games in a row.
I know.
6 last year, 2 this year, with double-digit targets, 8 touchdowns in those 8 games. Lamb, 34 games for his career, 8 games with double-digit targets, 2 touchdowns in those games. I know there's a lot more to say about that.
Right.
Zeke, Cooper, bad quarterbacks the first year when Prescott got hurt. There's a lot more to it. But one guy's on the Lions, and that's happening. He's kind of already just destroyed Hawkinson. I mean, Hawkinson is what right now? Chark had a 0 in week 2 after some promise in week 1. Jameson Williams will get there, but what do they say? The guys who command those targets, that sticks.
Yes.
And this guy is doing that, against good teams last year, this year, fine. Philadelphia, like Jefferson couldn't get off against Philadelphia. St. Brown did.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy to watch. It's crazy to watch. I mean, he's running guy runs a reverse, and it's just no one sees it coming. 65 yard, like everything they do is just geared around him, and it all works. Like Jared Goff somehow, couldn't get out of his own way under Sean McVay, and over here now again, Jared Goff's a QB2 in fantasy, but like everything is to Amon-Ra, which is just wild. And I feel like CeeDee Lamb, and I love CeeDee Lamb. Like CeeDee Lamb is more talented than Amon-Ra, I think, but I feel like he's got like a little Sammy Watkins in him, where it's just like it's ever gonna like completely click. There's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be a whatever. CeeDee Lamb's obviously had a better career so far than Sammy had, but I get those vibes. There was always something off, where he's never going to hit that potential.
Lamb 23, still very young. St. Brown 22.
Yep.
One more. So we did the 2 potathons toward the end of the draft season. One was for the Football Guys Players Championship, the FFPC at FFPC. Matt Schauf joined us for the 11:30 draft. Was it 11:30 or 10:30?
Something like that.
Super late. And Matt's so good. I'm in fishbowl with him. And he and I are facing off this week. And so let's take a look at that.
Oh,
I'm going to get you those. I mentioned this, or maybe you did, I'm not sure, on Twitter today, getting ready for the show, and Schopp versus Schauf.
Yeah.
Say it three times fast.
Yeah.
There you go. He said, you better hope Lamar Jackson doesn't play.
Yeah, he said that. Matt said that.
I do not hope Lamar Jackson doesn't play, but I think he's right, actually, when it comes to this matchup.
Right. That's right.
Break it down for us.
So Lamar versus Hurts is a wash. Hall versus Connor. If Connor plays, it's clearly Connor. Jacobs Pierce is a wash. Higgins Brown. I think I wish I knew who they played.
It's up there. It's up there.
Trying to see.
It's up there.
Oh yeah, New England. Oh yeah, sorry. Where are we at? Higgins, Jets, Brown. I like AJ Brown against Washington. I don't like Higgins against Sauce Gardner, although Jamar Chase might get Sauce Gardner. Man, Jefferson against Detroit, Bateman against New England. Give me Jefferson for sure. Andrews versus Kelsey. Oh, look at these monster squads. Andrews versus New England, Kelsey versus Indy. Give me Kelsey coming off 10 days rest. Dotson versus Henderson. Oh my gosh. Wash. Olave versus Waddle. And then who cares about Baltimore against New England and Cleveland against Pittsburgh? Wash.
Who's hiding down here? Gabe Davis is hiding for me down here.
Oh, baby.
Penny, I like Penny this week, actually. I might. I mean, it's not going to be huge workload. Probably they used 4 guys now. Really smart roster management. But there's waivers still to come.
Those monsters of waivers. No, you guys aren't picking up anyone and putting them into these lineups. Monster squads. What are your thought? What's your thought on the Breece Hall Jets situation? 8 freaking touches or whatever.
I'm glad you brought up Breece Hall when we were talking about Matt. I'm okay.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm okay. I think it looks, for what you spent in the draft, it's really good for Carter. You're hoping for an opening with these running backs when you're drafting guys that late, and you don't really have it yet in terms of Hall not being there. But Carter is startable in these flex positions, I think, so far. And Hall will get there. I mean, I feel like he's super good, and they'll get to Breece Hall. They're throwing the ball to him a little bit, especially week 1. And I mean, they won a game, 31 points, 60 passes against Baltimore. They're leading the league in passes so far, and they've shown, I think, both these running backs can be a part of that. So it's not quite to start all the Jets. I mean, we're not there yet.
Right.
I'm not looking to start Breece Hall. Maybe it ends up with Penny going in there instead. But I think you can.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that 8-9 catch potential. I mean, he already did it once, But it's the thing with Breece Hall, man. If he gets that backfield to himself, if Michael Carter goes down even for a week, Breece Hall could absolutely smash. He's just so good. And but hey, competent coaching. So that's all we're asking for.
Interesting spot, Cincinnati at the Jets. The Jets beat them last year.
Yes.
With Wilson, and now the Bengals at 0-2, losing to Trubisky and Cooper Rush, go to face Joe Flacco and the Jets.
Super Bowl hangover for everyone, for swaggy Joe Burrow, who just deleted his Twitter account or Instagram or something because he can't take the heat. Oh my gosh.
Don't lose this one, Bengals.
That's right. That's right.
Good luck tonight out there in the waivers world.
The Fab Streets.
The Fab Streets, Root Fab. Let us know how it goes. We'll be doing Wednesdays here. Might have to bounce around a little bit, maybe even 8:30 in the coming weeks because we're both trying to help raise a family and all kinds of stuff that's going on. So, but it is an interesting night to sort of dig into fantasy. You try to balance. I don't know if I'm saying too much. You try to balance when it's best to be on with like who else is on, and also what fits into your life schedule. But we'll do some Wednesdays here going forward this fall.
Yeah, I like doing Wednesdays. It's Fab night, and it's also kind of the transition from one week to the next. Everyone's kind of listened to all the recap pods, and now the preview pods are going to be coming out tomorrow, and we're kind of in the middle there. We get the Fab, we get the little look back, look forward, and I love it.
Good luck, everybody. Thanks for being a part of our show, The Deep End. Mike Schopp, Adam Krautwurst. Follow at DeepEndFF1 on Twitter, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.